Hey guys, just looking at a 2003 Landcruiser GXL head unit here. So this is the factory unit. It's got like a little crack here, but that's okay, that gets replaced. Overall, the only real functionality that you get with this is radio, Bluetooth, and CD player. Apart from that, it does have a USB port and a headphone jack. I had a friend with the 2018 Workmate GXL 70 series that had the exact same radio. So quite a few either old four-wheel drives or Toyota Landcruisers or 70 series units will have this exact same radio. But apart from that, it's pretty standard. There's a slot here for USB, and there's also a blank down here. Yeah, there's lots of spots that we can put accessories that we include in the kit. So we include a rocker panel switch so that can go here or here. Hey guys, so this is a completely unopened box. I'm just going to show you what's in the kit. Cable pulling tool, very handy. You basically use this little contraption here to lasso and pull the cables through. So this is a guide on how to set the reversing camera. We'll go through all that anyway, but it's an important document if you want to read through it. Just a thank you and a discount code if you want to refer your friends. And these are all the accessories if you're ever wondering what you can put with your head unit that do work with it. It's pretty good if you can buy it initially and then as you go, just add it on as you wish. This is our dual panel, little rocker panel switch USB. So that will slide into one of the existing blanks in the car and give you a fast charger through the cigarette lighter, and also a USB that you can use to plug into the unit, which is pretty good. These are your trim removal tools. So these are what we use to work with the car's plastics. Very handy, and they're slightly malleable, so they do mold a bit. They're not super rigid. If they were super rigid, they might actually break stuff. So this is good, better than using a screwdriver or something like that, because a screwdriver you might actually snap something. And certain pieces of trim are really annoying to get replacements for. These are all your accessory cables, so I'll walk you through this in a second, but that's what that massive bag is. This is your main harness, so this is what all my plugs will go into this from the car, and then this will go into the unit. As you'll see in a second, I'll show you how that goes. This is the OBD2 scanner, so this will plug into my OBD2 port and let me view stats about the car, and also clear check engine lights as well. Complimentary stubby holder. Hot days you might need it. We've also got some wiring tools, so these are really handy when you need to try and splice wires for whatever reason. These make your life very easy. That's what that is. This USB is just for updates and things like that, so we just include it in the kit. And this is the main act, so the actual head unit itself. Here it is. So obviously the fascia will be all good. We'll transfer that in. You can't see through the packaging, but this is where all the cables will go, and there's a wiring diagram on the back there. Almost forgot the reversing camera. So this is the standard reversing camera that comes with all the different kits. This is the cable you run throughout your car, and then just there is the reversing camera in the packaging. So that is everything that is included in the kit. Okay, so this is the accessory cable bag. So these antennas will be labeled, so that's your GPS antenna. You just stick that on your dash. This is your external microphone. This is the 4G antenna. This is the cable that you use to plug in your reversing camera and front camera. These are speaker pre-outs. So are these. These are just used if you have an aftermarket sound system. This is your 4G SIM card tray. Limited use of these. They'll work for a SIM card tray, but you push, open them. Do I want to use your actual unit itself to make phone calls, or you want to use it as like almost like a router maybe with mobile data? You can do that. You can look into that for sure. That's what that is. This is a Bluetooth and Wi-Fi antenna. So if you're using aftermarket speakers, use this cable because it has the speaker pre-outs, but it also has a Bluetooth and Wi-Fi antenna. If you're not using this and you don't really plan to, it's usually just easier to use this cable because it's just less mass behind the car, less cables to confuse you, and it's easier to push it in right at the very end. I will be using this because I intend to put a speaker system in this car. This is the exact same thing as that little blue cable. This is what you plug your external mic into. It's got 2 USBs coming out of it as well. And this is just another standard USB cable. So those are all your accessories. Everything this side is an accessory. This is the main harness. So those plugs will all go into these holes here. That's for your radio, and those are those 2 antennas that I was talking about. So that's how that works. The main harness here is this one that I was talking to earlier. So that just goes into there. So car to this, to the unit to those, to the car. It's kind of how it works. Input, output. Hey guys, so to take the factory unit out, start by grabbing one of your trim tools and just gently wedge it in between these panels. Just try and find a spot that doesn't put anything under too much stress. Just this white plug here. If I just move the camera, this white plug here. So there's a little tab just there. Undo that. So push in the tab and pull it out, and should be all good. Same exact process for the other side. Get your trim tool under either the bottom, or if you find it easier for you, the top, and just pop it out. This side should be no different. What was giving me grief earlier, just so I can get the camera closer, was this little clip down here. So it's the exact same as this up the top. It was just being a bit stiff. So I just removed this exact same way as on the right hand side. If you've got a Sahara, you might have a plug here. There's a button on the actual bit of fascia right there. There'll be another clip. Same as the other side. This is a GXL, not as fancy, so there's no plug there. But once you've done that, there will be 4 10mm sockets on the corner. So there will be exactly the same on the other side. There'll be one up the top here. There'll be one just down here. And if I can see it on the other side, one there, and also one just down there. And then once you do that, you should just be able to pull the whole thing out without many dramas. Hey guys, so I've just undone those 10mm. They're quite long, so that's that one there. It's 4 of those. They also have a fillet head on them as well, so you can also use that as well. I just ratchet's quite easy. So once you've done that, just pull, and you should be able to take it out without too many troubles. So the whole unit comes out like that, and then you've got to look at the back of the factory unit. After we got rid of those 10mm, so just took these 2 out. They just got a little tab on the back. This one's the same. It's just got a tab just on the top here. So just press that down. It might be quite stiff. This has never really been messed with before, so it might be quite hard to do with one hand, but take that out, take everything out from here as well. This is all the climate control cables, but we still need to get it out so we can actually transfer the fascia over. So yeah, they all have a tab on it, so you've got to press this little tab to get it out. So now we're going to start connecting these plugs. So the only cable I currently have in the car, everything else is still over on that table, is this main harness. So just get this main harness and ignore everything else. That is the easiest way to go about this. So the good thing about these plugs and this harness is that all of these plugs, if you look at them all, they are all distinctly different. You only have to worry about the white plugs. Match them like to like. So for example, this cable here, you can see, it's a 2x4 and has 2 blank. So this would obviously go into that one. It couldn't go anywhere else. The one next to it, this 2x6, would go into this one this cable, which is a 2x6. They will only go where they can go. It's quite literally impossible to plug it into the wrong one. So I'll plug those in. These ones here that were plugged into the HVAC and all that, these will just be transferred onto the other fascia. And for example, this one will not go into there. None of these plugs that were going into the air conditioning controls will go into any of these plugs at all. So this one will not go in there, etc, etc. You can't plug those in. But what you should plug in is these. So, like I was saying earlier, 12 pin to 12 pin, 8 pin to 8 pin, and that's it, you're done. Don't worry about these other cables. They are just excess. This big 2-pin one here is a radio connection, so we'll worry about that later. For now, at least, anyway, that's this 2-pin. So you can also plug that into here, and then you'll have to connect this wire to the blue wire on the main harness, which should be loose somewhere. Also, one thing to note, you will find 2 amp con wires. So I'm just trying to show you guys, 1 second. So on the harness, you will find 2 little black plugs. Both blue, one's blue and white, and one looks like it's solid. No, they're both blue and white. And there's 2 of these female plugs, but there's only one of those, which is a male. And basically what you got to do is you got to trace these wires back to these plugs, and one of them will be a blank. So one of them will go quite literally nowhere. I'll just have to have a look as to which one that is. Usually it's on the back side. We'll just have a quick check. If you just look very closely, these 2 wires here, the second from the left, and these 2 white wires, or they're blue and white, but they're white on this angle. They, if you look up here, okay, they are the second and third from the left. So if you find the corresponding pin, one of them is blank, the second one from the left. So if I work back from, I need to find this wire here and not use it because it doesn't go anywhere. So I need to plug that one in there on the third from the left, because it has a corresponding wire. Actually crosses over and turns into the right one. So this is the one I don't want to use because it's the second from the left. So if I grab this one here, which is the correct one, and I also, with one hand, grab the other one down here. So these 2 are meant to go together. So there you go, one-handed. How good. So that's plugged in. Just completely ignore this one. You do not need it, and just double check that before anything else. Hey guys, so before we do anything with the fascia, grab your actual unit itself, and just make sure it actually works. So what we'll do is we will grab the main harness of wires. So you'll find on the very end there will be one black plug like this that is much bigger than the others, and it's quite obvious that one goes just into here above the blue fuse. So that's all plugged in. Just give it a wiggle, make sure it's all fully in. Should hear a click. That's okay, that's all good. And to test the radio, you'll see this blue plug we plugged in earlier. Coming off it will be this, which is a radio plug. So just grab that one and plug it just into there, and then we will test it. So just grab your keys, just turn it on. Awesome. So that all works. I don't have steering wheel controls yet, obviously, but if I go to radio, I go search. It should just start to search for the radio channels. So if you press the search button down here and it stops at certain channels, that means you've got good reception. That's it, just scanning. If you press search and it just goes from left to right really quickly and it doesn't stop, that means that it's not quite plugged in right. But all good, going through the different stations. So that's 96 FM. That works, so just make sure the radio works. Okay guys, so this is the original unit here. And basically what we've got to do is, obviously we aren't replacing any of the aircon controls, we're just replacing this bit here. So if you flip it over, nice and gently, you'll notice that on each side there's quite a few bolts that are holding in this radio, but also there's some bolts on the side here. Should just be able to lift it off and out. Ooh, sorry, there's a plug just here, so get that one. I'll just turn it on its side, and you'll see when you go to have a look at this this one here, you're not trying to push this through the metal, you're just trying to unclip it, and to do that, if you can look down the center there, just there, you'll see there is a little tab. So I'm gonna go get a flathead screwdriver, push that down because I know these ones can be quite stiff, and then it should just pop straight off. Hey guys, so after you've undone all the screws, you'll find this plug is stuck in here. Easiest way, do not try and like untab it, it's a real pain. Just squeeze the sides of this tab inwards like that, and it'll pop straight out. And then, as you can see here, should just separate. So, okay guys, so once you've finished with that, this is what you should be left with. So you undo all the screws, obviously it's quite dusty, it's been there for like 20 years, and you've undone this, and we'll start transferring over to the new unit. Hey guys, one more quick step. If you just look at the old unit, just undo all these bolts because we need these brackets to transfer it over to the new fascia. So it should be just 4 on each side, shouldn't be too bad, and then we can move on with the install. Alright guys, no worries, so just got rid of this, just in there like this, on the side. So that's all good, that's the factory unit done. Won't be needing that anymore. Got the new unit, and we've obviously got the old fascia. So we want to remove, you'll see it's held on by these little brackets down here. So there's one bolt on mine, just undo that, it's just that one in there. So undo that, it's just a standard, just same as what we were doing earlier. Let's get rid of that. So this will come apart just like so. No worries, out with the old, in with the new. When you're putting the brackets back on, with the GXLs, it's a bit weird. So none of these bolts are actually going to line up. And that's okay, because it'll be held in by the plastic fascia and bolted to this, which is fine. But essentially, from the factory unit, the AC compartment, there is a little, like, nub, almost. That little guy just there. And it's not a bolt, it's not like something you can put a bolt through, but it just kind of aligns it with this. So what I do first is get the bracket, make sure this hole has this, stopping my finger. It's like it comes out of the fascia, pops out. So this is just to line it up. Then I do this bolt up next. In terms of these screws here, none of them actually line up with the unit, which is fine, because it's all going to still be held in, and I'll show you how. Apart from that, when you line up the two fascias and you overlay them, there is little screws such as this one here. There's 3 of them. When I took it apart, you would notice only one. I put all 3 in because I haven't used all the screws because they've haven't screwed anything in here. But mine's a little bit bent, this one, so don't worry about that. It's fine. But apart from that, that's basically how you do it. So just to recap, the first thing I did was put both brackets on here. Put those bolts on first, and then line these up, do this up, and you should be fine. Then make sure obviously that you trimmed the fascia beforehand, but essentially these brackets aren't actually directly attached to the unit. These brackets here are just used because we get to put the 10mm back in, which secures it all in, but that's okay because the fascia, it's not going to go. Hey guys, so just took it out again just to show you what all these accessories do. So this cable here, it is a 14-pin plug. It goes in the one and only 14-pin slot, so that would be the top left. It'll click in. I'm using speakers. If you're not using any kind of aftermarket speakers, amp, sub, anything like that, just use this one here. It says BT/Wi-Fi on it, and it's also a 14-pin. This is your 4G SIM. This one goes to 6-pin, like so. So that will go at the top, in the middle, just there. I'm not actually going to do that because I know I'm never going to use a SIM card, but if you were to use one, that's where you could put it. This white plug here, that's a 10-pin, has 2 USBs and an external microphone slot. So that goes in the, you see in the bottom left, there's 2 10-pin plugs. I'll zoom in on that for you. So the bottom left here, there's 2 10-pins. What you'll notice is on this plug, there's that little groove. So when you go to plug that in, that groove is at the top left. If you look here, there is a groove there and a groove there. This is the top left, this is the top right. So the only one this will fit into is just here. Quite a firm push down for that one. Got your antennas, we'll do later. This brown cable here is a 8-pin, so that will go in the top right. The grooves are there to make sure that there's absolutely no way that you do it wrong. This grey one is for your reversing camera, so we'll use that later quite a lot, but that just goes in the bottom right. Cool. And this is your external microphone, which we'll also do later, but that just plugs into the one with 2 USBs at the top, like so. That plugs into this cable that I talked about earlier. The antennas, so you've got a 4G antenna that has a purple head that goes onto the purple slot, like so. So I'm trying to take it out again. That goes there anyway. And the GPS antenna, blue goes to blue, just here. So that goes there, that's your radio plug on the left. The main harness is just here. And apart from that, that is it. That is all of your accessory cables. So when you go to put it in, if you don't do this step, you'll notice that there's 2 bits of trim where up here where the factory radio used to kind of clip into. We need to kind of trim that off so that ours can go in. I recommend before you're doing this trying to put it in, and then you'll understand. Obviously don't shove too hard, but you'll understand how much you need to trim off, but it's not very much. I'll just do one side and then I'll show you the other, but just be careful, take your time, but we're going to give it some room so it can slot all the way in. Just finished doing one of these. All I did was, I'll show you a close-up look, use pliers to like take chunks out of it. Where the hole is, you know, it's not very much to chew through, so you just use pliers to take chunks out of it, and then I just used a Stanley knife to gently and slowly just kind of make it nice and smooth and trimmed off. I'll show you that now up close. 1 second. See there, difference. So that's the side that I have done, and that's the normal side. So it's kind of hard to explain, but you'll understand what I mean. Just obviously be gentle and neat and stuff, but it's not too bad. You don't actually need this much room. I'm just doing that to make it look nice and clean. Now before you put it in, here is my original fascia. This is the original one, and when you take it out, you'll notice that white clip I just put on. Mine had that one next to it, and one next to it. This one here has been broken, but you'll have 4 clips if yours hasn't been broken. You won't need to use all of them. Actually, where the white clip is right now, and where that one is, that would normally have popped up into that trim, but we just trimmed it off. So you don't need that. So transfer those clips, the white ones, over onto our fascia, but just in the corners, because those clips will go up there into the 2 corners. So just transfer the white clips from the original fascia into the top 2 on this fascia. That's what we're going to do. Alright, I've done. Nothing's plugged in, I've just tucked it all away. Best thing to do here is to test it all fits. So there you go, that looks pretty alright. I'll just go over to the other side and check the other 2 clips, but I like to manually actually go in and just check. So once it's all in there and you know it fits, obviously we haven't wired anything up yet, so I'm just going to have to take it back out, but just be gentle. It should pop out with absolutely no problem at all. Just make sure you hold on to all of those clips. One of them just popped off accidentally, one of these white ones, so just pop that back where it was earlier, and then we shouldn't have an issue. Next thing we're on to do is we are going to put in the USB rocker panel switch. We have decided to put it here. Sorry, I actually just used a screwdriver to get under there because it was quite hard to get out. So next I'm just going to undo the screw that's just down there. Just see there if you put the seat all the way back, and then we'll pop this bit out. That screw down here is actually a massive pain to get to. It's almost impossible to get out. So all you got to do is get a cable puller, shove it down this hole, get your hand under here. You'll have to squeeze. It's a bit tight, but eventually, if you keep threading it through, you will be able to feel it, and you'll just be able to pull it through like so. And then all we're going to do is we're going to put the cables on this end, and we'll just be able to pull them through, and should all work. Just routed them down the side here without having to get that screw out. The trick is to not try and lasso, I guess is the word. Don't try and pull it through like this. Try and kind of fold it and have it looped around like here, so then it feeds through like that. If you feed it through just with this, it'll either get lost in there or it won't be able to fit through, but you can pull it through if it's like kind of on a bend, is the easiest way to describe it. But otherwise you just pull these cables through. Now this little white plug here goes into the back of the USB, so of the rocker panel switch. So that's that little white plug there, and the other one is the fast charger. Audio at the top, these cables at the top, fast charge at the bottom, empty slot, which is what this cable here is for. For this one here that you push in, you got to give it a real good push, and it'll get in there, otherwise it'll be loose. Like if I pull on this, it should not come out. So just make sure you do that, because it's quite easy to not fully seat it in there. It's quite tight, and it'll stick out a little bit because that's for the LED, but the actual wires themselves are still here. So we have to just use this trim here to kind of feed it all the way up into this section here, so we can hook it up to the back of the unit. I just got a LED here. This is the way to find out how to, like, look, it's an LED, right? So that's facing down towards the glove box, and I've just fed the wires. You just tuck them under. You literally just push them under there with your fingers. And if you want to figure out how you can actually route them up, I'm going to have to get a certain angle here, so just bear with me. But if you look up there, you can actually see the light, and that's how you know where to route it. So you can just see, like, just up here, that's light coming from that LED. That's where we need to route it. So gonna get the wiring tool and shove it down from the top or from below, whatever you find is easiest. So just routed it from the bottom to the top using a flashlight to kind of guide you, and also just bending it so this is a bit straighter. Just here, it was coming out through the aircon vent. Make sure that you route it up behind the chassis just here. You'll kind of see what I mean. You want to avoid putting anything in front of the aircon vents, because when you put them back on, you don't want something to get in the way of the clips. So I'll just put those through here. So what I was talking about earlier with the lassoing, how I kind of like hook it on. Okay. So instead of doing it like this, where you lasso it like that, I actually prefer to just bend it and then do that way. And you'll find that when you pull it through, this will just compress, and it'll be a lot easier to pull through rather than this, because this can just fall straight out quite easily. So that's how I do it anyway. It's quite easy, so it makes your life a lot easier. So the cable is not super long, so what I recommend doing is getting the other USB, like one of the USBs from the head unit. I'll go get it now, and just hooking it up to that, taping it around, and then just using that to connect to the head unit. Because it doesn't need to go all the way to the head unit. There's a cable that's obviously going to connect that to the actual unit itself, so we'll just go ahead and use that one. Just fetch this the purple cable with the one USB. I'm going to feed this up and around this corner. Get rid of the cable puller now. So feed it up and around the back like so, and then I'm going to hook this into the USB we just fed upwards from the glove box. I'm going to go get some tape, and I'm going to tape that up to make sure that it doesn't undo itself. But that will not actually end up there, so it's going to obviously be pulled tight. I've fed it around the corner here, so around this bit of chassis, and then that way it will not come undone. So for the other cable, we're going to do the exact same thing. Instead of plugging it into the cigarette lighter, we're actually just going to tap into our main harness for this one, because the cigarette plugs are different. This is compatible with the 200 series, but it's very easy. It's just a positive and a negative wire, so it should not be an issue. Routed the cable that would normally go on the cigarette lighter, and we've got the USB there as well from earlier. It was a massive pain to fit, but you can just squeeze it through. The only way that you can do it is basically by steering upwards using a little tiny screwdriver like this, and just basically trying to just move the plugs, because the plugs are they can just fit. So if you've got a second person with you, they can help you by, you know, applying constant pressure, which would help a lot. I was by myself, so it was quite a bit of a pain, but you could figure it out. As long as you got some light and some patience, you can definitely feed it through. So in here we have our plug that we were using for the cigarette charger, and so you want to just make sure, you want as much room as possible, just chop it right on the end there. And then we will start to splice. So we just did this, so we just spliced into our ground and our positive, just explain that on the workbench over there. So we're just going to tap into this, and then it should be good to go. So for the next step, we're going to splice into this. We'll need some way of stripping the wires. We just have this because we do it all the time, and just something to cut them with. So if you look at your main harness with the clip at the top, that's pin 1, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes the opposite way to reading, and then that's pin 10, and that's pin 20. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. So if you flip it over, the top right, so that's pin 20. Now pin 18 and 16 is what you want. So it's this red and this black. So that's your accessory, that's your ground. So if you trace those back, you will find them here. So you just get your pliers and cut both, and go and find your SPL connector. So this is that little handy wiring tool that I was showing or talking about earlier. Now there's 2 stages to the clip. You gotta really pull on it hard to get it fully out. I have spent hours trying to diagnose something before. That was the reason. It wasn't fully letting me put it in. So do that first, and then set your strip to 1/2 inch if you have one of these ish around there, and then just strip all 4 wires. Once you got all 4 wires stripped, just give them a bit of a twist. What you're going to do is, coming from the car, I find is easiest, so you put that all the way in, you'll feel it hit there, and then clip down on it. You should not be able to pull it out. Do the same for the other side. So just feed it in, and then clip it down. This is what we do it out. I tend to do it outside of the car because it's a bit easier. But I just like to, for good practice, just so I can trace things back. So put it in the corresponding pin, so it's just like a continuation. So you go like that, and then for the red one, to the outside as well. Go give it a twist, put it in there, make sure it's in there, and then fully clip down. And these 2 are what we're going to use with the cigarette lighter. So we're going to strip those as well, and we're going to put those in there, and then should be all good. This, just cut it right at the end there. Don't need this anymore. And then there's a little wrap around it, so I'm just going to get rid of that little black wrap. So just got to get access to the wires themselves. So oh, there you go, just pull it off. So this little piece of plastic was just covering it. Obviously I've got to separate the wires, so just get rid of that. And then you will see there's our positive and a negative. So I'm going to just strip those down exactly the same as I did to the wires on the main harness, and then we should not have an issue. There we go, cool. So exactly the same as before, just twist these. And then on our main harness, we have this one here. So you got to remember, you got the 2 inputs coming from the car. Red is going to go with this orange one. So we'll get red to go into the orange one, just match them. And then the red wire will go into the other blue one. So they're all color coded, so it should be okay. But there we go. So just added them to the main harness. What I do usually is I will actually disconnect these again because it makes it a bit of a pain when the main harness is now stuck in this small confined space. So when we go to put it in and finalize it, that's something I'll do at the very end just to make your life a little bit easier. So that's how you do it. But in the meantime, I'm actually just gonna take these out. There you go. Take them out, they're not going anywhere, so keep your main harness nice and free for our next step. So just fetched the entire unit here in my lap, but also you can use this if you want. The test is you got to use test AM radio. That's how you test if you got the best reception possible. So I've taken it off. I've just plugged in those 2 plugs on the main harness, so nothing we haven't covered already. And I'm just going to test the unit still turns on and everything. should do. Wouldn't be a reason why it wouldn't, but I'm also going to test the radio, and I'm also going to test the USB that we just plugged in and everything. So with this one, just to make life easy, oh sorry, I plugged in the wrong USB, I plugged in the wrong radio. This is coming off the main harness, you don't want that. You want the radio antenna coming from the car. So it's kind of tight, so it's very hard to show you, but it's just a radio plug. It's almost impossible to miss. It's right next to the GPS and the antenna plugs. So plug that in and just get the main harness and everything and just tuck it all back there. Make sure to plug in the purple cable in the back. So this purple cable, it's the only 4-pin on the back. It's pretty hard to not figure out what it is, where it goes. No worries. So what I'll do here, and the only reason I'm testing this, guys, is because generally speaking, the USB rocker switch is a bit of a pain. So what I'm going to test is, as I did earlier, I'm going to plug in those 2 wires, and I'm going to test charge it all. So very hard to show, but all I'm not really doing anything complicated. I'm just putting it all back so it all fits, and I'm plugging it all in. So, okay guys, so just plugged it in, radio's working. You can see if you go down there, that's got a light, that's on, that means it's receiving power, which is always good. So yeah, connecting it on that, if you put it in, it's a pain in the ass to try and get the USB rocker switch wired up, but once you do, it's all good. Just double check it, because you would not want to install this completely and then it doesn't work. So we just finished testing the USB rocker panel switch charged my phone, which was all good. Tested the radio, which worked. That's all good. So now, even though I ran through it with you on the table, but I'm now going to put in all the accessory cables. So let's pull that out. So one of the clips just came down to the bottom. Just fell down there. I'll get that later. Just make sure you don't lose any of the clips, because they are annoying to replace. Where is the piece of foam? I also recommend that anytime that you're taking this out, make sure you have a bit of foam there. So I'm going to grab that and I'll find the clip. But basically what I'm asking you to do right now is disconnect all these wires back here, plug everything, not the main harness, you can get the main harness in there, but I would disconnect from the USB rocker panel switch cables and the radio cable, just so you can have it here out in front of you, so you can actually plug things in, you know what I mean? Hey guys, so put the antennas up here, we're gonna do them later or last. Like I told you earlier, I'm not putting the GPS in. If you were to, it's a 6-pin, it will only go in the way it goes in. We're not using this either because I'm using an aftermarket sound system. And this is the external mic, which we'll do very soon. The only remaining cables is this. This has all the speaker pre-outs that I was talking about earlier. So this is the biggest cable on the actual head unit itself, like in terms of pins. So there's only one place it can go, which is in there. So that should go in there, no worries. And that's got a Bluetooth and Wi-Fi antenna on it and all your speaker pre-outs. So this is the reversing camera cable. It'll go on the very bottom right or top left. This is also an aux cable, so you're gonna possibly need this later if you want, you know, left, right, and also there's a video in as well. So that just goes in there. If you want to realize like a better view of what I'm doing, go back in the video to when I was explaining all the different accessories and when they go for the GPS and the 4G antenna. So they plug into, obviously, these ports here, blue to blue, purple to purple. Where you mount them, this red stuff here is like a sticky, so you just pull that off. Pretty much anywhere under the dash. The only thing that really matters is that you can see the sky without any metal being in the way. Like this mat at the top here, doesn't matter. So if you have a 100 series and you look under here, you'll see there's like a flat zone where you could put that. And also the exact same thing for the 4G antenna. So I'll show you when I actually do it later. But we'll move on to the external microphone and the reversing camera shortly. Hey guys, so we're just going to be putting the external microphone just right up here in the corner. Take off the handle. There's 2 Phillips heads here, and then we're just going to have to route it under the dash, down and around, and then back up into the head unit. So, bit of a process, but it's worth it. The audio quality when you're on the phone is really good. We'll get to work by firstly just, this actually came with these, not here, but taking these 2 screws out. So just took this one off here. We're going to have to take the head unit back out to route the cable from here down into the footwell. So I was going to go grab some foam to protect the unit from this, but take it out, unplug everything, and we'll find a little hole to route it down the bottom through here. Just going to take this out and get that cable threader tool. Just got the head unit out. Try and find the cable with the 2 USBs on it. Here it is. Unplug mine, that's all right. Find the microphone cable coming off it, because we're going to have to plug that in. So just grab your mic, and what I always do is I always take this little foam thing off when I'm feeding it through, because it almost always gets stuck. So take that off. Plug the mic in. You can tape that up, and then we're going to try and feed it down through here. Make sure, yet again, you route it around the chassis, and then you put it down. So we've got the A-pillar trim off. I've got a really bright LED here, and to make life easy, I just stick it in the corner there. And so what that does is, it allows me to, when I'm getting under near the accelerator pedal and all that, looking up, I can see very clearly where to use this, like where to thread it through. So get a light, you can use your phone torch, whatever, and stick it down the little hole in the A-pillar. And then when you climb under, it'll make your life a lot easier when you use this to try and thread it through. Okay, so we just fed that up there, it's not too bad. We got the microphone coming out from the footwell. Luckily in hundreds there's not, you know, there's quite a few big holes and stuff you can feed these cables through. So like I said earlier, you know, take the foam off this because it'll just get stuck. And when you thread, don't try and hook it on like that. Much better off hooking it on like this. It just works a lot better doing it this way. So then when you actually do pull it up, well, there you go. So as you can see, the mic's cut at the other end. So all we got to do now is obviously pull it through, and what you want to do is when you get on the inside of this here, you don't really like fix it to it or whatever. You don't really glue it on or anything. Basically, when you put the A-pillar trim back in, it'll just sit there. It'll just kind of squish it and it doesn't move. Figure out how long the cable needs to be from here all the way down, and then you'll have some excess down the bottom there that you'll have to get rid of. We'll just pull that back up into the head unit, but that's where that goes. So we'll put the A-pillar back on, and then we should be okay. Putting our new reversing camera in. So obviously this grey cable with the RCAs on it, with the cam in wires, front cam in should be one of them. I've just wired that up. So you'll have an RCA, a big RCA cable that you get in your kit with your reversing camera. On one side will be an RCA and a red wire. The red wire you splice into, see that orange and black wire that has a reverse in on it? So that is the cable that you attach to the other, so this is the head unit side of that really long cable. The red one coming off that goes into the reverse in here, so I've just got them hooked up through a SPL connector, little wiring tool. You can just splice those and tape them together or whatever you wish to do. But all I've done, very similar to the mic and the reversing camera, the microphone, you just route it down there under your steering wheel. And then you want to go up through just exactly as we've done with the external microphone. But from there, what you want to do is you want to route the cable up through the top of your roof. And how you do that is you'll have to take these out. It's just you pop these off with your trim tools, and there'll be 2 Phillips screws. You just pull that off, and that'll let you get under here. So there's a wire that I've routed just through the top of the roof there, going all the way to the back, and I'll show you guys how to do it in the tailgate, especially. That's the real hard part of the reversing camera for these ones, but that's how you just get the cable there. There's no real trick to it. You just got to pop off under here, and you can just squeeze the cable up in there. So you can actually just see it if you look very, very closely. Right in the corner there, you can see the cable. So there it is there. You can see it right there. Anyway, tuck that away, and I'll meet you guys at the tailgate. You'll see it just come along the top there, and those cables, I'm going to tuck them away, but that's just to show you. And they are up here, come all the way around here, and up to there. Now here's where the problems are. This one here, so this is your grommet, and you'll have to pop this off, and the best way to do it is get soap. So wrap your cable in tape, get soap, and shove it through. I'll show you what I mean in a sec, but get your wire tool, like this is the wire tool. Instead of hooking it, just tape it with it so it's nice and skinny. Put some kind of lubricant, I just use soap, and that'll help you get it up through the top here. And then from there, you're gonna need to route it in this little area here, and the hole is up here, which is quite a big hole, which is nice, but you gotta get the cable through there. So I've done the dash camera, so wiring is very similar, but you just got to get it up through the side here. For the reversing camera as well, on the tailgate, you'll notice that the best spot to put it is on the other side of here. So the best spot to put this is right here, but interestingly there's actually a bracket there. This is the bracket, you'll see what I mean when you get it out. This one just sits right up in there like that, and you just have to basically get it out, because if you look, that little hole just there, past that is where we're actually going to stick the wire through. So that's how we do that. We're going to have to drill a hole in the other side to get access, because where this stops here is just, it's only here. So to get access to this bit here, we need to take the bracket off and then just drill that, and should be able to mount it there, no worries. So tapping into this one, because when you wire it up here, you'll notice there's obviously the actual video cable, and then there's also the black and white trigger wires. So you got to run those down. They wouldn't quite comfortably reach all the way down here, so I cut some extra wire up, and I'll just show you that now. But step one here is to get a flathead and undo this screw and undo the screw at the bottom, and that way you can just pop this headlight off. So if I'm done with that, you're just gonna push here, and I actually use a trim tool, because when I'm pulling like this, I don't want to snap any of the plastic here, so I put a trim tool in here just to help me pop it off, because there's some clips that are facing inwards from there. So I'm just gonna pop it off like so. I'm gonna have two hands when I finish it off, but that's how you get it off. We'll continue from here. So you'll see a couple of different lights. The top one is the reversing light, so this one here. And instead of just going into the wiring harness, I just decided to keep things simple and tap into them right here. So using some T connectors, you can buy these anywhere you want. I just did this to make my own life easy. You don't actually have to use these, you can just do it yourself with some tape and just crimping them and that kind of thing. But basically positive and the negative, and I routed that around here and into here. So I'm going to take this off and show you guys. Should be quite easy to do actually. There we go. So there is the cabling coming from the reversing lights, and I routed that up here. It's just a normal bit of trim, just got to pop off, and I just connected it, as you can see up there. I just connected those wires to the reversing camera RCA cable, and then it triggers and it's done. So the actual video cable part is gone through here as well, and down the chassis rail, all the way down here, and if I find it, should be able to, there we go. So there's the actual video cable part here. So this is what we'll plug into the camera. It's not an RCA anymore, it's an RCA on the car side but not on this side. So you'd have to drill a hole about that big in the tailgate. Guys, so just putting the actual unit in, it's always best to go from the top first with these ones, I find. So I've forgotten to reconnect my main harness, which will probably be a bit of an issue. So always go top first, so it clicks in, and then just push the bottom in nice and firmly. You'll need to do all 4 of these 10 mils back up. Just these ones here, so still got my ratchet here, which is nice, so make sure it looks the right way. I'll do these up and then we'll show you how to put the aircon vents back in. Okay, so now that you've done that, I just put all the 10mm sockets in. That's the left one, do that last. These are quite annoying to try and get to sit flush, so obviously you've got to reconnect this plug here to your hazards and then line it all up. But I find you've got to be quite rough with these almost, and you've got to try and push them to the right, or at least this one to the right, to get it around the trim so it sits flush. If you don't do that when you're putting it in, it won't sit flush. So that sits nice. And then when I'm putting this one in, on the left side here, I push it that way as I'm doing this so that it goes around the plastic here. So it goes around and then pushes in. Otherwise, if you just push it directly in, it'll kind of like not fully seat. So that's all good. And then no worries, it works. There's no sound right now because I'm connected to a Sonos system inside, but no worries, we've got a radio and all that, just double check everything works. Cool.